Hello and welcome back for those of you who were with us yesterday, and a warm welcome to those of you joining us today. This is the second day of the 9th Integrating Cities Conference, organised by Eurocities and co-hosted by the city of Nuremberg, in the framework of the Values Project, looking into volunteering activities to leverage urban and European social integration of migrants. The event is live-streamed in English, French and German, so feel free to select the language channel you prefer. And apologies for the delay in kicking off this live event. We had to adjust a few technical issues in relation to the interpretation to make sure that you have the most enjoyable experience possible. I really strongly encourage you to engage with us through Twitter by using the hashtag #IntegratingCities and tagging also the Integrating Cities account, as well as Eurocities, of course. You will also find the Slido tool to the right of the live stream if you're not in full screen. And that's where you can drop your questions and comments, and I will be monitoring those and integrating the most popular questions into our debate and discussion. So please, engage with us. It's really important for us to feel the pulse of the event. And I also already have a question for you. What were your key takeaways from yesterday's event, at least for those who were with us? Now, to jog your memory and to jog our interaction throughout the day, I would like to also introduce you to Sophie Lang. She is an illustrator, and she will be accompanying us throughout yesterday and today, and she will be drawing her thoughts on our thoughts expressed during the discussion. So Sophie, welcome and hello. Now, to jog your memory, this is the canvas that Sophie drew yesterday. And during this opening event, we heard from many high-level speakers the importance of the local and city level to make integration happen, with Annalisa Boni, Secretary General of Eurocities, stressing that cities must have a seat at the policy table. Annette Widmann-Maus, Federal German Minister for Migration, Refugees and Integration, spoke passionately about the role of cities, saying they are the beating heart of integration. The European Commissioner for Home Affairs stressed that all integration is local, that people do not integrate into nations, but into communities. Asher Craig, Deputy Mayor of Bristol, highlighted the importance of cities in providing welcome and a sense of belonging. Damien Carême, Member of the European Parliament, reminded us that cities are also the places where humanitarian crises sometimes need to be managed, without always having the tools and resources to do so. Johannes Luchner, the European Commission's Deputy Director General at DG Home, called for greater solidarity and responsibility among member states in this respect. Councillor Elisabeth Ries from Nuremberg pointed out that we should not necessarily talk about integration in terms of groups and categories, but more broadly, in terms of fighting poverty and inequalities. My takeaway from yesterday is that cities are on the front line, and that they should take the lead in shaping a new narrative around integration and empowerment of migrant communities by facilitating partnership and dialogue. Partnership indeed is key, and as the Mayor of Nuremberg, Markus Koenig, said in his opening address, we're going to do this together and we're going to have a better future united. So today we will go deeper into understanding how cities are collaborating with stakeholders to create a more inclusive and equality-driven integration. We will have an exciting panel debate with representatives from cities, the business community, the volunteering sector, and a member of the European Commission's expert group on the views of migrants. We will be building on the learnings and feedback received during 4 workshops that were organised in the run-up to this 2-day conference, and notably on the topics of volunteering and access to the labour market. But first, let's have a look at a short video on the Integrating Cities process, which will be showcasing notably the new signatories of the Integrating Cities Charter, namely Bristol, Cesena and Bilbao.
Cities are crucial in developing innovative strategies for migrant integration. Integrating Cities is a process for integrating migrant communities and refugees in European cities, launched when Eurocities and the European Commission partnered up to maintain policy dialogue between the local and the European level. Since 2010, the Eurocities Integrating Cities Charter has set out signatory cities' commitments on migrant integration to provide equal opportunities and promote diversity as policymakers, service providers, employers, and buyers of goods and services. The Charter was launched in London at the Integrating Cities 4th Conference, where 17 cities pledged to meet its commitments, and since then, a total of 39 have signed. This year, 3 new cities, Bristol, Bilbao, and Cesena, will commit to the Charter. EU-funded projects like Values and Connection, developed through Integrating Cities, let cities learn from each other, share information, and implement new actions, like getting migrants engaged in local volunteering and setting up mentoring programs with migrant youth. A biannual monitoring report highlights the new trends in migrant integration in signatory cities to keep track of local efforts, challenges, and successes. From the 2020 report, we can see that more cities are working with migrants to develop their integration strategies and focusing on the value of diversity. Every 2 years, the Integrating Cities Conference brings together cities, civil society, and EU institutions. This year's conference focuses on building cohesion and shaping an inclusive society at the local level by involving and engaging communities and people. It is the occasion for new cities to sign the Integrating Cities Charter and promote diversity and equal opportunities. Learn more and join the movement for strong, cohesive cities at integratingcities.eu.
So after that short video where we hear from the signings of 3 new cities, I would like to now invite Mr. Gabriele Rabaiotti, who is Deputy Mayor of Milan. Gabriele, good morning. Thank you for being with us.
Good morning to everyone.
Good morning. So I would like to ask you to reflect a little bit on this integrating cities approach, and especially with the publication of the new report. So can you take us through what's in this report? Gabriele, over to you.
Intanto, grazie, benvenuti a tutti.
First of all, thank you and good morning, everybody. I hear Nico.
Penso in particolare alla città di Norimberga,
I
che
think in particular to the
ospite
Nuremberg
virtuale
city,
di
who's
questo
been the
nostro
virtual
incontro.
host of this meeting.
A tutte le istituzioni
I
europee,
think to all the European
Commissione,
institutions,
Parlamento,
European
a tutte le
Commission,
città
the Parliament,
partecipanti.
and all the participating cities.
In particolare a Vanta e Cesena,
In particular, I
sono
think about Banta and
unite in
Cesena,
questa
who
rete
joined our
di
network
integrazione sull'integrazione.
on integration.
E poi agli speaker che sono oggi presenti.
I also think about all the speakers who are present here today,
E a tutti i partecipanti collegati con
and I
noi.
think to all the participants who have joined us.
Inoltre un saluto particolare
Let me also say
al
hello
assessore Thomas Fabian
to the Mayor Thomas Fabian
e a Silvia Ganserla, Policy Director di Eurocity.
Hello to Silvia, Director of Policity.
Quello che vorrei raccontarvi rispetto al report parte da una affermazione
Like
sulla quale dobbiamo
to kick
trovare
off
condivisione e
in,
consenso.
underlining on there's an echo that it's impossible to translate like that.
Sapete che diverse città ormai, città numerose e
You know
importanti,
that
hanno aderito a questo
Some
programma. e a
important
questo progetto.
cities have joined to this program.
La costruzione di una rete a livello locale
Building
che
up a
permetta di
local
rendere
network which
queste città
allows
dei luoghi aperti.
cities some open places has been paramount.
Luoghi aperti vuol dire
When I speak in terms of open spaces, I mean
transitano,
that people who passes by, people who live there, can find a way to live a wide, open community, just like the one which is represented by the European cities.
La rete tra le città
Cities
è il
network
segno di questo sentirsi cittadini del mondo.
is the symbol of belonging to the world. So it does convey the message that one is empowered to live everywhere. So citizens need to feel free, to feel at home anywhere they are.
Questo significa che
This means
dobbiamo
that
lavorare affinché tra le città esistano
we have to work and make sure that all the different cities have instruments, tools, and shared policies to allow these
le loro autonomie una grande città,
spaces,
potremmo
like
dire
just
la
one
grande
big
città
town.
europea.
We could say the big European city, per se.
È a partire dalla nostra condivisione e dalla
So it is
nostra
really
intenzione
starting from
e dal
this
nostro interesse
shared
di
idea,
condividere
this
esperienze
shared
che
interest
costruiamo nei fatti
that we
un
want
filo che lega e
to
tiene insieme queste
have a
città
thread
e
keeping all the
quindi
cities
permette e
together
consente
and
a
a
tutti i
thread which
cittadini
allow
di
all
sentirsi
citizens to
ovunque a
feel
casa.
at home anywhere they are.
Voi sapete meglio di me che l'integrazione
You all
si gioca
perfectly are
anche
aware of the
e
fact that
molto
integration
a livello locale,
depends quite a lot on the local dimension.
che i cittadini, qualunque cittadino,
So the
abita
citizens, any
innanzitutto uno
citizen,
spazio e un luogo,
lives first of all in a
vive
very
la
specific
casa,
and particular
il servizio pubblico,
area, and
la
he lives,
strada,
he
la
feels
piazza,
public
il sistema del
services,
commercio, vive la
squares,
città.
shops, towns, cities. He lives in all these areas.
Per questo, accanto alle regole
That's why.
generali che guidano anche gli aspetti dell'integrazione
So,
e segnano la storia
together
dei
with
nostri
the general
stati,
rules
deve esserci
as
un'attenzione
being at the
agli
base of the history of our
strumenti,
states, we must focus
alle
as well
azioni,
with a particular attention
alle progettualità
on the
che
actions, on
rendono
the projects
concreto questo
which
abitare
make
nella
this
città. E questo è lo
new dimension
sforzo
of living
che
all together
dobbiamo
in
riuscire
cities
a condurre e a portare
meaningful. That's the
avanti
effort that we need to
come
carry on all together
municipalità
as
e
municipalities and
esperienze
also
locali.
in order to foster local experiences.
In particolare il report si sofferma
In
sull'aspetto
particular, the
delle
report
giovani generazioni
dwells on
e
new
delle generazioni
generations
capaci di
and
costruire il
on
futuro
young
delle nostre
people
città.
in charge and capable of building the future of our cities.
E i giovani vivono l'esperienza della formazione,
Young
dello
people
studio e
live training,
dell'inserimento nel mondo del
studying,
lavoro.
and a section into the work world all together in cities.
Penso alle nuove generazioni non
I
solo
think
come
about new
alle nuove
generations, and I consider
generazioni
them
che
not
si
just
spostano e
the
migrano
new
dai
migrants
paesi del
going
sud del
from one
mondo
country to
verso le
another
nostre città,
with a flow from southern Europe to northern Europe.
ma penso anche ai giovani che si spostano tra
I
le nostre
think
città.
of young people also in terms of citizens moving from
Anch'esse
one
sono giovani
city to the other.
generazioni migranti.
They are
E poi
young
penso ai
migrant
giovani
generations, and also
locali,
I dwell on
quelli
local
presenti da tempo,
youngsters,
nati e
the ones
cresciuti
who
nelle
are
nostre città.
who were born in our cities and who still live there.
Questo appuntamento segna
So
lo
this
sforzo che
meeting of ours
Integrating Cities
underlies the
sta
effort that Integrating
costruendo
Cities
insieme a
is
noi e
putting
con noi
together with all of
per
us
dare a
in
queste
order to
generazioni una
provide
prospettiva di un
these young
futuro
generations a
insieme.
future perspective all together.
Ed è per questo che torno
That's why
su un tema
I'd
che mi
like to
piacerebbe
go back
venisse
to a
discusso
topic
e
that
preso
I'd like
nell'agenda
us to
di
discuss and to
Integrating City
insert
anche
in
per
the
il prossimo lavoro
Integrating
e il
Cities
lavoro
agenda
futuro.
for next work.
Dobbiamo provare a spostare il fuoco
We need to
dell'attenzione al
try
baricentro
and
delle
shift
nostre politiche e
our
del nostro
attention
progetto
from
su iniziative
our local
universali,
politics on
cioè
universal
dedicate a
initiatives
tutti.
dedicated to everybody.
Ancora molto a Milano stiamo lavorando sui
In
sistemi
Milan,
di
we're still working quite hard
politiche di welcome e di
on the
benvenuto per le
welcoming
popolazioni
policies
straniere,
for
politiche di
foreigners,
attivazione del
some
lavoro per la popolazione straniera,
employment activation
politiche di
policies
sostegno al
for foreign
volontariato
citizens.
per le
We
generazioni
also
straniere.
have some policies in order to foster the integration of migrants in our local community.
Su questo il report insiste molto e fa
The
bene a
report
farlo
does dwell
perché
quite a lot on
abbiamo
this
ancora
point,
bisogno di
and that's good because we
rafforzare
still need
politiche
to strengthen
settoriali,
some sectoral
da
policies
qualcuno chiamate di
that somebody
discriminazione
calls
positiva, che
positive
guardino molto ad
discrimination,
alcuni
because
e
they
forse un po'
focus
meno
quite a
ad
lot on
altri.
some particular parts of population and less on others.
Ebbene, dopo questa spinta
Well, after
a cui
this
ci invita il
particular
report che
thrust
ci è
that the
stato
report
consegnato come
invites
grande
us to
lavoro
join,
sviluppato da
after all
Eurocities
this
e
big
dalla rete delle
work
città,
carried out by Eurocities
dobbiamo
and Cities
tentare un
Network, we
passo
have to
nuovo,
try
un
and
passo
make a longer
successivo,
step, which is the
che è il
following
passo
one. In other
dell'universalità.
terms, universality, that's what we have to aim to.
Le politiche della casa, le politiche per i giovani,
Home
le
policies,
politiche
young
per il
policies,
lavoro devono
work
essere
policies
politiche
need
per
to
tutti.
be focused on everybody.
Si richiama all'esistenza di forme di controllo all'interno della Carta che regola
We
l'integrazione tra le
need to have
città,
some
di
forms
forme
of
di controllo
control.
anche
The chart
all'interno
deals with
degli
those.
staff
We also need
chiamati
to
a
have some
dirigere,
forms of
organizzare,
control
coordinare,
within staff
orientare nella
because
vita
they have to
pubblica e privata
organize, manage the
l'azione
private
di,
and public
potremmo dire,
life of
governance
citizens.
delle
We need to
città.
carry out the city's governance.
Potremmo chiederci quante sono le
I
persone
wonder
non milanesi,
how many
non
people, not
lombarde,
from Milan,
non
not from
italiane
Lombardy, not from Italy,
all'interno di queste strutture che sono
live
chiamate
within
a
these
dirigere,
structures
coordinare
who
e
have
in qualche
to
misura governare
manage
il
and in
sistema
some
della nostra città.
parts
E potremmo
govern
chiedercelo tutti.
our city. We might actually ask that questions all together.
Ritengo che questi indicatori
I reckon
rappresentino
these
bene e
indicators
in un modo
are a good
coraggioso
indication
la nostra
and a brave
capacità
one
di
of our
generare
capacity to
opportunità e
generate
possibilità per
opportunities and
tutti, a
possibilities for
partire da chi ne ha di
everybody,
meno.
starting from those who have less available tools.
Lo straniero e il migrante non deve quindi
Migrants
sentirsi
and
sempre
foreigners do not
solo
have to feel
beneficiario di
just a
politiche
beneficiary of
settoriali
some sectoral
rivolte
policies
solo a lui.
aimed just to his or her category.
Dobbiamo riuscire ad
We need to
estendere
be able to
le
expand and
politiche di
extend
servizio, di
the
promozione,
service,
di
promotion,
attenzione, di
and attention
contributo
and
e
contribution
di
policies
mobilitazione ed
to other
emancipazione
people,
a tutta la popolazione, sia
to all the
essa
population,
migrante o non
being
migrante.
them migrant or not.
Anche questo è un aspetto che il report indica come un
This is
aspetto
also
di
a point
integrazione,
which has been
non
indicated like an
tra le
integrating
città,
aspect
ma
in the
nelle città.
report. And I'm talking about integration between cities and not within themselves.
Su questo l'aspetto del volontariato
This respect,
orientati in
work
particolare alla popolazione più giovane e
focus in
dinamica
particular on younger and
all'interno delle
dynamic
città,
population between
rappresenta
cities
un'occasione molto
is a
importante
very
e
important
il report
occasion, and the
sottolinea
report
con
does
particolare
underline
interesse
with a lot of
questo tema.
interest at this particular point.
Il volontariato è in molti casi
Voluntary in
un'occasione
particular
di riscatto,
cases
ma anche di proposizione positiva del
is an
nostro
occasion
modo di
for
abitare.
positive action for citizens to join in.
Ed è anche per questo che risulta evidente che
That's
se il
the reason why it
volontariato
is quite
coinvolge e
patent that
porta
if
in scena
voluntary
la
does
vita del migrante della
involve
persona straniera,
the migrants and
fa una
foreigners'
doppia
life,
operazione.
then it does have
Politicamente
a good
molto
result in a double operation, which is very important in a political way.
Porta, potremmo dire, in piazza e in scena le storie
Because the voluntary
di
movement
persone che non
puts at
sono
the center of
della nostra
attention
città, ma che
the
cercano
histories and
in qualche
life
modo, in
of people
qualche
not
misura,
coming from
di
our own
essere
city,
i nuovi
but
abitanti
from people
delle
who are
nostre
trying
città.
hard to
Li
become the
rende
new
riconoscibili.
citizens of our cities. So it does provide them with a new face and a new voice.
Ma il volontariato pone un'altra questione
But the voluntary
importante,
movement
e cioè che questo riconoscimento è
is also
mediamente
focused on
positivo,
another important
e
point.
cioè è il
This
riconoscimento di
acknowledgement
persone,
is only
di
partly
popolazioni, di gruppi che
positive.
intendono
This
dare
is
un
about the integration of
contributo
some populations and
senza
groups who
ritorno,
do want to
senza
provide a
obbligo
contribution
di
without
restituzione
obligation
alla
to
nostra
actually have
comunità e alle
something
nostre città.
back.
E questa
And this
gratuità
contribution
del
is for our
volontariato
cities and for
pone
our communities.
quell'azione di visibilità
So that's
dentro
why
uno
this
schema
visibility action
di riscatto e
is
di
inserted into
costruzione
a
per tutti
frame of
della nostra città, in particolare
new
nei suoi punti
occasions
più
for
fragili.
everybody, especially when it comes down to fragilities.
Ecco perché, dopo aver fissato il fuoco e
That's
l'attenzione
why, after we have
su particolari
well-defined
gruppi
the tension
che
on some
abitano la nostra
particular
città,
ethnic groups
dobbiamo
who live in
far
our
crescere,
cities, we need
grazie a
to
questo scambio
be
tra
able,
città
through the
impegnate
exchange
nell'integrazione,
between
l'idea che
engaged
questo fuoco si
cities,
allarghi
we have to
e non sia più
foster
rivolto a
the
gruppi
exchange
particolari,
so that we
solo
do not
a
just
gruppi
focus on some
particolari.
particular groups and not just on them.
Potremmo dirci che esiste anche un lavoro
We could tell
sulla
each other
comunità
that
locale
we can also work
che
on
è
local community,
propedeutico
and
ed
this
è
is
importante
really
ed è
paramount,
fondamentale
and it's really
per
at the
dare
basis of
alle nostre
everything
comunità
for us to
una
provide
base di
our communities
accoglienza e di
with the
apertura
framework of
all'ospitalità
opening and
nuova e
welcoming
differente
to
rispetto a
new people,
quello che
having a
abbiamo
different
visto
approach and a new one
fino
compared to
a
what
pochi
we
anni
have
fa.
seen until just a few years ago.
Concludo dicendo
Let me
che
just
è
finish in
sicuramente
claiming that
tripartita
it is
in molte
certainly
città d'Europa quella che è una sfida
in lots
storica
of European
delle città.
cities, we have seen
Una sfida che le città hanno sempre dovuto
restarting
gestire
a
da
new
quando sono nate.
historical challenge, a challenge which has been there since they were created.
Questa sfida è la sfida
This is the
dell'accoglienza,
challenge about
è la
welcoming.
sfida
It's
dell'apertura
the
delle
challenge about
porte a
opening the
chi
doors to
bussa
those who actually
alle
are
nostre città,
knocking
perché ha
on our
bisogno
city's
di
doors because
entrare e
they're
di
in
trovare
need, because they need to
prospettive di
enter and
sviluppo di
find
vita
some
differenti da
development
quelle che ha
perspectives different
abbandonato.
from the ones they have abandoned and left behind.
Questa sfida le città
This
l'hanno
challenge
giocata prevalentemente da sola,
has been
fino
played by
alla
the
fine
cities on their
dell'Ottocento.
own until the end of the 19th century.
Oggi l'Europa, e
Nowadays,
su questo il report torna con
the
insistenza,
report goes back on this particular
questa sfida
point
può
on
giocarla
several
tenendo
occasions.
insieme
The
un
Europe can be
sistema
the
di
central
città.
actor to actually accept this challenge, putting all together a
E
system and a
questa
network of
rete ci
cities.
serve
That's
tanto più
why this
forte
network needs to be
quanto più
strong,
deboli sono le
and the weaker
popolazioni
the
che siamo chiamati
populations
ad
that we are
ospitare
called to
nella
welcome, the
nuova
stronger
sfida
this network has to be.
posta alle
This is
città
part of the new
per il
challenge that the
prossimo
cities have to
millennio.
take up for the next 100 years.
Io vi ringrazio
Let me just now thank you all for your patience and for your attention. Let me thank all the staff and technical teams who follow with lots of attention these knowledge requests and quests, because I think this is also something else that we need right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Gabriele, for these words. If only Europe could be as open as the cities, that you mentioned, we would have a much broader and inclusive society, no doubt. So thank you very much for those opening words and for having presented the report. Thank you, Gabriele. I would like now to move to our next and most central part of this event on the panel debate. I would like to welcome our 5 panelists. Gabriela Civico, who is director of the Center for European Volunteering Center. Thank you very much for being with us. We have Adem Kumju, who is president of Unity, the new European Business Confederation. We have Carmelina Labruzzo, who is Councillor for Social Services in the municipality of Cesena, and welcome to the Integrating Cities Charter Club. We have Anila Noor, who is the newly elected member of the European Commission's expert group on the views of migrants. And we have Ritva Viljanen, who is the mayor of Vanta and partner of the Values Project. So a warm welcome to you all. If I look at the Slido, one of the comments that is made from yesterday is that integration needs a multi-stakeholder involvement and should be approached in an inclusive and participatory way together with migrants. This is one of the important takeaways that one of the participants took. So if I go to Ritva up in Vanta in Finland, could you tell us a little bit how cities better cooperate with all relevant stakeholders in this field?
So dear fellows, dear participants to the conference, and it's really great to participate in this panel. Firstly, some words about Vantaa. Vantaa is part of Finnish metropolitan area. We have around 235,000 inhabitants, and we have a most fastest growing city in whole Finland, which we are very proud of, and we have a most international city in whole Finland. More than 20% of our residents, they are speaking some other language than or Finnish or Swedish as their mother tongue. And that's why it's also the reason why the topic of both of values projects and this conference are very important for us. Our strength have been the cooperation and partnership with both businesses and civil society organizations, which we do very dynamically. Sorry. The strategies must also go hand in hand with cooperation made in practice. That's why I'm telling you example of this very recent situation. The corona situation here in Finland and in Vantaa has recently, unfortunately, gone for the worse. We detect that a relatively high percent of the corona-positive people in our area has migrant background. So I decided to invite the representatives of civil society for a meeting. I invite all the international associations in our city and also the leaders of faith organizations for a dialogue. So we need to work together and to find solutions in this situation. In 2 days, we managed to receive the representatives in the Vantaa City Hall, and the atmosphere in the meeting was very good, very positive. The migrant community leaders offered their help in translating documents about the virus and the epidemic and delivering the information. The non-governmental organizations also offered their help in contacting families. They phoned their members and contact the members of their communities. And the city promised to buy masks, and the non-governmental organizations will deliver the mask for people in the communities.
Okay, so I go back to my panel. Apologies for the delay. Could I then go to Cesena and meet with Carmelina Labruzzo? So how do you approach this multi-stakeholder cooperation at city level?
Grazie, thank you very much and good morning to everybody. Buongiorno a tutte e a tutti. Oggi è un vero onore essere qui e rappresentare in questa tavola rotonda, in questa Europa grande, la città di Cesena. Ne approfitto per presentarvela brevemente. Cesena è una città italiana nella regione dell'Emilia-Romagna di circa 97.000 abitanti. Il 10% di questi abitanti proviene da paesi terzi e quindi da tempo siamo coinvolti nella bella avventura dell'accoglienza, dell'inclusione sociale e dell'integrazione. Oggi approdiamo qui come meta importante e tappa allo stesso tempo. La firma di questa carta è proprio meta di un lungo percorso in cui come amministrazione abbiamo voluto portare avanti con convinzione la condivisione degli intenti con tutti gli stakeholder presenti nel nostro territorio, le associazioni, i cittadini tutti, i volontari, il Consiglio Comunale, per arrivare poi qui. Ed è tappa di un processo non facile, ma entusiasmante, un processo mai finito, che ci vedrà continuamente nel tempo coinvolti e che facciamo nostro. Il processo dell'integrazione come sfida alta, sfida che ci vede protagonisti. Come dicevo, un processo condiviso con le comunità dei cittadini stranieri presenti nel territorio e con tutti i volontari anche dell'associazionismo presente nel nostro territorio. È un percorso che si affianca anche ad altri percorsi intrapresi nel tempo. Nelle nostre linee programmatiche l'amministrazione ha sottolineato con forza l'importanza di intraprendere una politica locale per l'accoglienza e per l'inclusione dei migranti e dei cittadini stranieri
and foreign citizens who live since a long time in our city and that keep arriving from somewhere else. So it is quite rightly starting from the association movement, and we want to create some shared processes so that every single citizen can enjoy the best well-being possible ever. So we need to have a welcoming and integration process. And these are important challenges that we have to take up in order to build more and more open and inclusive societies. We need to improve the access to services. We need to build some open spaces and confrontation rooms. Also, during the pandemic, we need to be decided, and for example, so far we succeeded in meeting, sharing expectations and proposals. in order to prevent discrimination and racism acts, and in order to improve the quality of life of all the citizens, we have decided to provide all these programs. And we are quite aware as local authorities that our role is really fundamental in order to develop integration policies. Since a long time after we have been part of the Eurocity network, and we're happy to be part of this very wide European community, we do not feel secluded anymore, and we have the possibility to share all different practices. We do want to underline the value of all the practices and exchange of good practices. Thanks to the Values Project, and thanks to the ratification of the chart on the intercultural communication, thanks to the Family and Tarsi project, we are working all together in order to achieve our goals. Let me now say a few words on the manifesto and on the Intarsi project. The Intercultural Manifesto is a regional proposal that we have recently accepted. And in July, we started working on this training path on the institutional and intercultural communication. The main goal is promoting inclusion of the foreign students and to facilitate the foreign citizens' access to the integrated system of tutorial services. Instead, in November, we started, at the end of the month of November, we started the training path within the Intarsi project. This is a path which aims at qualifying services and at making all the protagonists grow within this qualification process. I'll stop here right now, and let me just thank you all for this really huge opportunity that has been given to me, because as a city, we certainly are enhanced and we're really proud of being part of such a network. So once again, thank you.
The value of networking will hopefully also make your life a little bit less difficult in addressing the big challenges that you have at the local level. One of the elements that we heard from the workshops prior to this conference was, how do we get communities of migrants more involved in the shaping of decisions, in the shaping of policy. If I go to Anila, you're a member of this European Commission's expert group seeking to get views from migrants. Can you tell us a little bit about this process and also your views on how to create more multi-stakeholder engagement for further integration?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so happy since morning and since yesterday we are hearing so many positive notions and positive reaction for the cities. About the migrants' views, I really think it's about how we can give them equal opportunity, but not by the notion of we are helping them, but by the notion of cities are trying to give equal access to their citizens, because newcomers, migrants who are new to the cities, they are future of the cities. So we really need to understand that. I will share recent example which happened technical just a few minutes ago. So there are people who really trying to understand what we are talking about and how we are talking about, but they have different languages understanding. So through our interpretation, when it was disconnected, they were unable to understand. Though we are saying the same things, we are saying the same words, but they were unable to understand. So this is happening actually for the integration, because integration is a both phase process. So then we are taking everyone as a multi-stakeholder. We need to talk about, not only talk about refugee and migrants, but with them. So that's why when we are talking with them, we need to make a structure system and give them equal resources and tools, so where they can express themselves with a feeling valuable and contributor to the society, but not feel burden to the society. And I think integration, as we all know, happens in the cities, and I'm so happy like cities are showing the importance and value and feeling of welcome to the newcomers or new citizens who are coming to the cities. This is really needed. So far there are few structural barrier, which is raising some kind of discrimination approach towards migration. We need to discourage that, and we really come up with a more stakeholder and good practices and good example to share with each other as on the city level, on the local level, and where we can present these are our future, these are our society, and they are not like creating of notion of us of them, but we are all together in this. This is one thing. And second, being a new part of this expert group, I think this is a very appreciated step by the Commission, and we really need to bring it on a local level as well. We need to bring migrants where they can come have a direct interaction with the multi-stakeholder, and where they can present what kind of opportunities they can create together, and how we can build, co-design, whole the integration procedure, which is happening on local level. So it's really important.
Yes, thank you, Anila, also for making this parallel between our interpretation issues and the challenges of integration. But it is true. I mean, language is not such an easy barrier to overcome. So thanks for those words. If I go to Adem Kumju, you're representing the business community, entrepreneurs, professionals, and this is also one of the issues that we raised during the workshop, is how the business community can get involved to support the integration of migrants. Adem, what would be your perspective then on how cities can further support this multi-stakeholder approach, and specifically then how businesses can take more of a lead in this field?
Thank you very much for your invitation, and I'm really happy to be here because after so many years, we are experiencing a paradigm shift. When we look at the discussion and the narrative about integration, it is always from the perspective of deficiency, like migrants need always help and they can't help other people. I sincerely believe that we need to shift the paradigm towards the dividend of diversity, especially in these times when big cities in Europe are super diverse cities, and especially in times of transition. We all know that big cities are confronted with huge challenges like aging population, like the digital revolution, like the climate change, and last times the pandemics. We need all the talents to make the city and to future-proof the city. These are not regular times. These are extraordinary times, and we need to reorganize the governance of the city. Neither markets nor hierarchies. We need network organizations, and I think network is the key to prepare our cities for better futures in a global competitive setting. It's important for migrants to be trusted, to be engaged in decision-making circles and processes. The old boys' networks were a wall against gender participation in democratic processes. We are now experiencing the same with these newcomers. But first-generation migration, second-generation migrants, third-generation migrants, even with a European citizenship, and I'm really a European citizen in my heart and my mind, not in my blood, but I am a European citizen, and I want to participate to build an inclusive city, not only spatial inclusion, not only social inclusion, not only economic inclusion, but also cultural inclusion. We can build the city of the future together if we listen to each other, if we respect each other, if we connect to each other, and if we engage each other. But it means that the city governance needs to take the lead in orchestrating these ecosystems. And I like the word ecosystems because ecosystems are natural. You don't need to put a hierarchy. You need to facilitate these networks, not in terms of projects, but sustainable ecosystems. where people are able at equal level to communicate with each other, to collaborate, but to dream about a common future. I am of Turkish origin, but I am a Dutch citizen, and I lived for many years in the city of Utrecht. I feel part of this city, and I dream of my city. Migrant entrepreneurs are community leaders. There are job creators. There are role models. There are bridge builders. There are change makers. And I'm not exaggerating. I can tell many, many things about this group of people. We forget that 25% of migrants are highly educated. When will we change our way of looking at migrants? When we can respect them in their ability to find creative solutions for our cities, and when we will respect them as ambassadors of our cities, because they have huge international networks. And we need city branding, we need regional branding. Because of aging, we will need more migrants. We will become talent magnets through this network of newcomers, new citizens, but respect them as full citizens. Do they need help? I think they need to share experiences, and peer learning will be the most important future for our cities. Let's create platforms, physical or digital or phygital, how you want to call it, but let's share experiences together, but by respecting each other and not create.
I think Adam has been cut off. I think he was having some slight connection issues, but I think he was.
I'm back here.
He's back. Okay, but I think you were essentially echoing the words of Ritva Viljanen. You know that migrants are in fact the future, and I think that you were really echoing that.
Désolé.
I would like to go now to Gabriela Civico. You are representing the volunteering sector. We've also spoken about in our workshops about the power of volunteering in fostering integration, both for support to migrant communities, but also by migrant communities. Can you also give us a little bit your perspective on how volunteering can support multi-stakeholder approaches in integration?
Hello everybody from Brussels. I'm the director of the Centre for European Volunteering. So we are a network of over 60 organizations which support volunteering across Europe. And we also run the European Volunteering Capital Competition, which specifically looks at rewarding and recognizing and encouraging the role that municipality level public authorities can play in supporting volunteering. So we are very close to this issue. We're very pleased to be involved in the Values Project and to be connecting with even more cities and citizens across Europe. The other speakers have mentioned really a lot about the importance of relationships, about the importance of networks, about the importance of ecosystem. And I can just show you here, and this is available on our website, maybe it's the wrong way around in the screen. This is a mouse mat actually, which we drew the volunteering ecosystem. And how complex it is, and how volunteers are involved transversally in so many different areas of activities of the city, so many different areas of supporting inclusion and integration, and including, of course, migrants. What we really need from public authorities and also from business, as Adam was just mentioning, is to create a supportive and connected environment where citizens are living in a welcoming atmosphere. It's also up to the leaders in the city to generate this general atmosphere of welcome and acceptance and inclusion, and seeing migrants and indeed refugees as a positive resource which the whole community can draw on. And we all of us together have to create this positive atmosphere, helping local people to volunteer alongside migrants, not seeing migrants as the recipients of volunteer support, but actually seeing migrants as active volunteers contributing to their communities alongside also local people. not excluding self-help volunteering initiatives, which many migrants can and do set up, but they of course need support to do that. I would say to cities and to public authorities, even when you know that volunteering is a good idea, you know that developing volunteering is good, don't think that you are alone. Don't think that you have to create and invent all these things yourself. Most cities have some kind of volunteer center, some kind of volunteer support structure, either formally supported by the municipality or informally existing. If not at local level, then maybe at regional or national level. Those volunteer centers are full of experts who can help to set up volunteering schemes, volunteering programs, look how volunteering is funded and supported in the cities. So please look to those experts, seek them out. If you don't find them, we can help and we can give support there to engage volunteers. We have to be careful that volunteers are not replacing paid jobs, of course, that's very important. And again, volunteer centers can help cities to work around that. We can also help companies to see how their staff can engage in employee volunteering. Also, when migrants are employees, how we can support them to be volunteers in their community as well. We also work a lot on helping, especially migrants, through their volunteering to validate the skills and competencies acquired through volunteering, which can even further build the ability of migrants to play their full part in the communities through the skills and competencies that they learn and develop while they're volunteering, also having them certified and validated. So there are several areas where volunteer organizations, but especially volunteer centers, volunteer infrastructure organizations who have the expertise around volunteer management, volunteer engagement, looking at indicators of quality volunteering, making sure that what we are asking and what we are supporting is genuinely volunteering and isn't something else, for example, is replacing jobs. That's more or less everything I wanted to say. A lot of the other things have been said. It's wonderful and encouraging to see in this Integrating Cities Network so much support and understanding around volunteering as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriella. And just to stay maybe on this topic of volunteering and not just support to migrant communities, but really empowerment of migrant communities. If I go back to Vanta, can you think of a couple of examples maybe of where Vanta is really encouraging the empowerment of migrants through volunteering? Sorry, Ritva, you would need to unmute. Yeah.
This helps a little bit if you open your
it does help.
Microphone. Yeah, maybe I tell it. I think that you had problems to hear it because of that problem, and that's why I maybe answer. We have a very close contacts with our migrant associations. So it has been a long time, and it built in many years. And during this pandemic, for instance, we have noticed for first that the coronavirus is more wider and more typical in those families which are migrant background, unfortunately. And that's why I invited our faith organization leaders and our migrant associations to come in a meeting and a cooperation meeting in the city hall, and it went very well. So how you contact? We created a real partnership, which was based on this the cornerstone that we know each other very well, and they found their association members. They're delivering the masks. We are paying the mask. Migrant association are delivering them, and the imams in mosques they promised to close the mosques on Fridays, because Friday praise they are the most busiest days, and that's why they totally closed on Fridays mosques, and every other days you can there can be entered only maximum 20 people, and. So, because we have the most international city in whole Finland, more than 30% of our population is come from some other place from Finland. We are very proud of it. It's very good for us, and that's why close coordination, and that we are really hearing and listening them. It's very, very important, and understand the different background and different ways of thinking, and so it's very important, and I'm very, very proud of it. Nowadays we have a problem. This pandemic has also brought that, but the economic unemployment situation with migrant people is it's higher than others, and this is one result. And now we are working about that, how to give more help, how to make lifelong learning, improving the recognition of prior knowledge. This is also very important to Finland, because we don't easily to know that was previously said here, but we don't notice that, but they are very highly educated. They don't have Finnish exams, but they do have them. As you said, 25% does have, and that's why this improving the recognition of prior knowledge is also very, very important. And we are giving also some extra funding to those single working business. So I mean, forgive me my broken English, but I mean when you have a business where is only one person working, and during this pandemic they have a hardest time, and we are giving extra money because we want that also these single business working people, that they live over these months, and 30% of them, they are migrant background in Vantaa. So we have a many kinds of cooperation, and it's very important for us. Thank you.
Okay, that's good to hear. I hope it's also inspiration for other cities across Europe. If I go to Cesena, also in this link with volunteering organizations that want to empower migrants as opposed to only support migrants, do you also have some good examples there? And maybe also reflecting on the acceptance of the local population of more migrants active locally?
Grazie. Sì, qualche esempio concreto
I can certainly provide some
di attività proprio dei volontari. Questi li abbiamo questi percorsi siamo riusciti a svilupparli grazie
we were successful in putting together some different paths thanks to the Values Project, which puts online some citizens associations, foreign citizens associations, together with some voluntary local associations. So the reciprocal knowledge gave its fruits, and we noticed an increase of mutual trust. Later on, we were able to develop some working occasions, and thanks to all the proposals which has been made during our meetings and sharing of projects and paths. Within these different possibilities, I have to highlight a whole set of focus groups which are going to allow us, from one side, to better know the communities which are present on our territory. So the focus group is really dedicated to the foreign citizens communities, but also to the voluntarism. In this way, we will have a mapping, a down-to-earth mapping, and a very updated one about the reality. So we'll have a picture of the situations that we have in the Cesena territory. The focus groups go on despite the pandemic restrictions, but they're still taking place. So we are facing really will to participate. People want to have some concrete ideas, and after that we'll be able to put together the integration plan, which has also been requested when the chart has been proposed. So I think this is a very fruitful path, and it is a very concrete one indeed. Apart from the foreign citizens communities, we also make it voluntary who are active on the ground, and we will be able to write a voluntarist chart. So we want to define who's the voluntary and why do they decide to provide his work as a voluntary. Why do they want to provide their own services? The voluntary people show a big passion, and this has happened really even in these recent months. Some voluntaries decided to follow some integrated trainings. It's a very simple thing, but I think that it is right in the will to exchange, it is within the will to be together, that we will have the fruits for the future. This is just meeting each other. It is just with dialogue, with the respectful exchange, and in the active listening, that we will be able to develop the following projects for the territory. And I'm bringing this up because I think that it is from dialogue that we will understand the needs that we have to listen to, and then we can find a solution. So it is a thanks to all these that it has been possible to go on with all the existing paths, and we firmly believe in this idea.
Okay, the importance of dialogue, and dialogue is not always easy, as we have seen, both from a technical level and a language level. Anila, may I pick your brains then for a few moments as to how you would maybe recommend to cities to best approach this dialogue with stakeholder groups? What would be the main arguments that cities can raise towards whether it's businesses or volunteer organizations or civil society to have a more leadership role in integrating migrants into their own activities?
Thank you for this very important question. In previous my engagement in last few years, I witnessed and I learned and I've observed the best practices which we can launch and we can learn from each other is how we involve migrants and how we can create more meaningful participation. We need to understand how we can give them understanding of why we are doing this, what is integration in the new home, and how they can also unpack their potential, how they can be more engaged in this. And this really need to understand these people who are coming into the host countries. They are diverse, they are different, and they are not different because they are coming from other countries, but they are different because these are human nature. They are men, they are women, they are children, they are having their own different expertise and skills. So we need to understand their differences as a diversity power, instead of taking them as a different people. So this is really important, and how we engage them, how we can talk with them is really need to be create more understanding. When we are seeing, like a speaker before me, she really said how we can actively listen, and active listening is really important, how we understand and how we are giving them understanding of why and how we are developing these policies. Because the communities, as I mentioned earlier, the communities may be saying the same things, and policy making cities are saying the same things, but the words, the terms and the language maybe they are using is different. How we can create better understanding to communicate with each other and how we can consult with each other is really important. So the table of negotiation should be on an equal level, equal terms and condition, and it is the source of meaningful engagement and meaningful participation requires so many tools. Like we need to be gender sensitive, because so far I never unfortunately didn't hear anything about how we can engage in a woman in the in integration from migrant background, how we engage youth we have know there are so many opportunities about how we can volunteer, but the thing how we can make more their sustainable future and which can have long-term impact. Because so far, being myself as a newcomer in Netherlands, I've been provided so many opportunity, but with so many challenges. So these challenges, it should be taken as a hurdles, not be as a something is limiting me. So how we can give them potential approaches and access to the opportunity. Because so far there been even in the COVID situation, what happened? Digitalization is creating one more barrier. So how we can make more technology available for the humans who are having migrant backgrounds. So these things need to be understand, and they need to be create more visibility of good practices what migrants communities are doing, and what businesses are doing, and what cities are doing. It should be a collaboration, it should be a mutual approach, instead of saying, oh, we are doing this for migrant. No, we are doing this for our new home, which is Europe. Thank you.
Maybe just to go a little bit deeper on one point that you mentioned. I understand that you're talking about the fact that migrants are not a homogenous group, and that we need tailor-made approaches according to the fact whether you're a woman, a child, etc. But don't you, I mean, would you then recommend cities to approach that as migrant women, migrant children, or are you saying rather that they should approach them as women first and foremost, or children first and foremost?
I think as when we are creating tailor-made, it's required to understand who they are, you know, and when we are trying to understand who they are, then we can say, okay, they are migrants, but also a woman, also a child, also need these additional facilities, additional resources where they can be enable them to be participate. So this is needed, and the division, as I mentioned earlier, it's not like to discriminate. It's about to give them equal opportunities. So we need to understand who is our audience, how we can help them more. So this approach can give us an equal, feeling of we are one. So we are different because I have my different expertise and my skills, but we are living in an equal environment.
Thank you for that additional thought. I mean, because as soon as we talk about further types of identity, let's say, we always get further issues potentially with cultural values, ethical values, religious values that can make integration a hard process. But that's also why it's difficult and that we need partnerships and networks. If I go to Adem Kumju, could you also give us then your key arguments that cities should be raising with businesses, business leaders, as to why they should engage further with integration?
I think cities understand the added value of diversity, and especially the support of migrant entrepreneurs in creating the future of the city. If the city is able to orchestrate, and if it engage with responsibility different communities, and not only entrepreneurs, but also professionals, civil society organizations, even religious organizations. But if it should be impact-oriented, performance-oriented, we talk a lot, but we need to plan things, to implement them, to monitor them, and to measure the impact of our cooperation. It's not enough to talk about things. We need some more impact. We need to work on the long term, and we need to learn together. It needs to become a learning ecosystem, if I may say. And we are able to do this.
May I ask you then on this point of impact assessment, let's say, what would be then your key indicators for success?
To be honest, the question of communication and collaboration in diversity could be solved by universal values where we agree on these values. Corporate organizations are always doing this. They have their own values. Values for value creation. And what should it be? It should be prioritized, and every single city has its own priority. In some cities, it's about employability and fighting against poverty. In other cities, it's about cohesion. In other cities, it's about stimulating entrepreneurship and creative industries. Cities should come together and define their own priorities. They should communicate this with these communities within the ecosystem and then develop together. They need to co-create and co-design solutions. This is what should be done. And we need to also commit ourselves to the performance we want to generate together. Values for value proposition and value realization, I should say.
Okay, so you're also saying that these indicators, this impact assessment has to be done at a local level, which also breaks down this homogeneous group of cities. It's really every locality has its own sets of resources, success stories. What about then this scale up or this scaling down? If I go to Gabriella, I mean, you're talking about volunteering in a broad sense, but there are volunteer organizations that are operating internationally, European-wide, nationwide, locally. How do you see the scaling up of initiatives? Do you see that local initiatives need to remain local, or is there a role also for these broader international organizations to step in?
As director of an international organization, I would say that of course we need all levels. We need certainly the coordination. We need the shared learning. What we have seen during the COVID-19 pandemic is that connectedness at the very local level has been very important. And where communities and people were already connected, were already had good communication, they were much more able to react quickly. One of the strengths of the volunteering sector, as opposed to maybe business, and certainly as opposed to public authorities, is our ability to adapt and to be very flexible and to adapt quickly, usually, at least more quickly than other types of institutions. So at the very local level, we can identify the common challenges and we can have a shared responsibility approach to approaching those challenges. We have seen where the most effective COVID-19 responses have been done really even at sub-municipality level, at really street level, neighborhood level, and that's where we have seen the most impact and the most effectiveness and efficiency of operation, if you like. What's been then very important is how those models and those examples have been able to be shared with a wider, bigger municipality at regional level, national level, and up to international level, which is what we have been doing. If those structures did not exist, and in some countries, sadly, they don't exist. In some countries, there are no national volunteering platforms, there are no national volunteering networks. So it's more difficult for those organizations and those local organizations to access this international expertise, to take these examples, to be inspired, to adapt them for their local reality. But we have seen a lot of sharing during this pandemic particularly, and we see that usually between volunteer organizations. We do unfortunately see a lot of repetition. We see some wastefulness. We see some lack of efficiency, where people are developing the same project to cover the same need at the same time in the same place. If we had networks, if we had more stable communication structures in place, we could avoid that kind of duplicity. We could be more coordinated. We could, in the end, be more efficient with the limited resources we have. Certainly when we need specialist expertise in the areas of disaster resilience, disaster recovery, we quite often need big international organizations to step in and deploy and move resources from one place to another. And that would not be possible without the bigger international structures that are ready and waiting. So we really need a combination, a variety of all things. So certainly at the very local level, even at street level, neighborhood level, up to international global cooperation. But we need the communication lines to be really permanently established in permanent networks, where those permanent networks are funded permanently as well, not on a project basis, but where they're really supported for their core funding, for their operational existence, so that when needed, they are able to respond flexibly, which is what we have seen certainly in this past year with this ongoing pandemic.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I'm afraid that we're gradually going towards the end of this exchange, and again I apologize for the technical issues that made it a little bit more complicated than what we would have otherwise wanted. If I then go back to Vanta for some final remarks, there was one argument raised in one of the workshops to say that cities should really be in charge of channeling funding and and resources to the right organizations locally that have the expertise and that can carry out actions towards different communities and to carry out that empowerment. Would you agree with that position, that that is the role of cities to really channel funding and resources, or do you see a more active role than that for cities?
This was a very good question. Thank you for making it. And I really do see it like as you said, the cities are the hubs in migrant integration. Compared to national level, we have an advantage of direct connections with the migrant communities. And we also have taken into notice the other side of this issue. We have faced the consequences if integration is not successful. In Finland, we have also a speciality that our municipals and cities, they are not very big ones because there is only 5 million Finns in the world, but we have maybe the strongest ones because our state is responsible for legislation and the state budget, but everything what you need in your everyday life is given by your own city and your own municipal. And this makes that in a practice, in the real life, the role of cities in Finland is very strong, and it's really important, and the cities are the key players in this development. In Vantaa, our growing migrant population strengthens our economy and makes our city more dynamic and international. But the growing migrant population also brings challenges, and that's why nowadays we are focusing new kind of services. For example, guidance and language training, and we also need to rethink the development of our services. I agreed on that, but we are women and we are children, but we are not. We are not so, as you mean, that migrant women or migrant children. But we must make these people equal, and that's why you need extra services, and you must give extra support that they have similar rights and they are equal with the others. And that's why this is also a very big challenge to our cities. So thank you very much. And I think it has been a great joy to be participating in this panel. And in some words also in Finnish, but you should learn, hyvää joulun aikaa. It means happy Christmas time.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just going to say we don't have Finnish interpretation, unfortunately, this morning. But thank you very much, Ritva, for having been with us and for sharing your insights. I would like now go to Adem Kumju for your final remarks. I've asked you a lot about how cities should be approaching the business community to encourage them to involve and engage more migrants. When we talk about specific entrepreneurs, businesses led by migrants, what kind of support do they need from cities? Can you give us your maybe top 2 or 3 recommendations that you would like to make to cities to support entrepreneurs in this area?
I think they need some coaching and mentoring networks. You know, there are newcomers and they need the experience of the autochthonous entrepreneurs. And there are a lot of entrepreneurs who want to invest their knowledge, their energy and time in supporting and coaching these entrepreneurs. Then we will create a bridge. The second thing I will say is we need to focus more on gender equality also among migrants, which is an even bigger problem in some communities. We need to focus on this, and not only by trying to help them, but giving them access to networks again, engage them in these networks. Last but not least, and I think the charter, I was very happy to read this, has the ambition to have an equality and diversity of procurement and tenderings and equality and diversity amongst contractors and suppliers. I think if we want to design our city and to develop our cities and to brand our cities, we need to make use of the talent of these migrant entrepreneurs and their view of the city by engaging them in projects. It can be real estate projects, it can be shopping centers projects, whatever in the sense of special inclusion, physical inclusion, city design. I want to belong to the city, but I want to recognize also some aesthetics from my cultural perspective in it. We can make cities more sexy, if I may say, by trusting and by engaging all this cultural diversity. Last but not least, I would say smart, lean, agile, and inclusive cities will have the future and a very vibrant future. I also want to congratulate everybody here. Every time it's enriching to listen to all these people, all this richness of experience. And I wish you all the best for Christmas, but also a fantastic 2021. 2020 was exhausting. I hope a better year. Thank you.
Thank you, Adem. It certainly was. It was tiring, but 2021, at least the beginning of it, looks like it might be a little bit the same. Thank you so much. Gabriella, maybe just a final remark from you. If you could try and make it relatively short, I would like you to reflect on, how would you see Eurocities working, even closer with the volunteer sector on European level to drive this partnership?
I think building the bridges, creating a better understanding between the different sectors. Sometimes it's like we don't speak the same languages. We actually mean the same things. We have the same intentions. We have the same wish to have well-being and prosperity and inclusion in our cities and towns. But we need to build bridges about how we can better understand each other's approaches, understand each other's limitations, but also understand each other's great potential. So networks like Eurocities, like ours, all our members, building those bridges and creating better communication will be a huge advantage for all of us.
Okay, thank you very much, Gabriella. I'm not sure, is Anila still with us? Or no? Okay. I would then like now go to Cezena. Cezena, new signatory of this charter. Could you give us then also your final remarks on why it is so important for Cezena to be part of this Integrating Cities Charter?
Sì, è importante, come dicevo prima, è fare parte e firmare questa carta per la città di Cesena oggi, anzi ieri da parte del nostro sindaco Enzo
our mayor Enzo Lattuca signed the chart. This is a paramount step forward of a process which we started last year. So we can strengthen and once again underline our engagement in order to develop inclusive policies, integration and innovation, social innovation policies. So we will be able to start new contacts at local and national level and at European level as well. So we have the possibility, we have a very precious and huge possibility signing this chart of being part of this network. So we can be the beneficiaries, but also the promoters within the network of some inclusive social and integration inclusive paths. So this is a huge opportunity, let me say that again. It's a huge honor for us. So let me thank you all in the name of the city. Thank you very much. Just like the present colleagues have said at this virtual table have said, let me say from Italy that I want to wish you all the best for the Christmas holidays and for the new year. We still have some important restrictions right here, so I think that we will all pay attention in respecting the others, and we will live the Christmas in the safest way ever. But we'll try to stay positive and really Happy New Year. May you have new projects to follow together with us. Thank you.
Grazie mille, Carmelina. Buon Natale a te. Thank you so much for having been with us, Gabriela, Adem, Carmelina, Ritva. You've been great panelists. Also, very many thanks to Anila Noor, who was with us as well, of course. Thank you so much. I would like now to go to Leipzig. We are joined by Thomas Fabian. Hello, Thomas. Good to see you.
Jean-Paul.
You are deputy mayor of Leipzig and have been involved for a very long time in these issues inside Eurocities. So I would be really keen to hear a little bit about your concluding remarks in what was a technically challenging debate, but I think it was nonetheless extremely rich.
Yes, it was a very good panel debate today, and especially after we were given an introduction by Gabrielle at the beginning about the importance of integrating migrants in our societies. And I think it was very good that we were given two concrete examples from Vanta and Cessna about how we can, as cities, cooperate with migrant organizations. And we also heard three important messages. Yeah, we heard from Alina that it is important to speak with the migrants and not talk about them, and involve them in our civil life in our cities. We had the message from Adem that we sort of should shift our perspective, see migrants not only as receivers of help, but to perceive them as persons who add to the success of the development of our cities, that they can be very important in entrepreneurs in our cities and develop the economy, the local economy. And also we heard that it is important to involve the volunteers to create a positive atmosphere in our cities. Now, I was asked to give some concluding remarks, and I would like to say that the local authorities play, of course, a very important role in integrating migrants. And very often it's the initial contact that shapes the future, and the first contact with local organizations shapes the arrival of migrants, of newcomers. A welcoming attitude and the support with bureaucratic procedures, I think, is very important because every migrant, every foreigner first has to go to the local authorities for some bureaucratic procedures. And the cities are those who define, in the end, the integration standards. And I think every city needs to develop a comprehensive concept about the integration of migrants, and referring to very different areas where integration takes place. Education, for example, integration in the labor market, political participation is very important for the integration process in our cities. I think the implementation of such concepts can only be successful with a multi-stakeholder approach. This means that we have to work together with other authorities. The local authorities have to work together with the regional authorities, also with the national authorities. Then we have to work together with the local business. We have to work together with many different local organizations from the civil society. And of course, and this has to be stressed again and again, we have to work together with the migrant organizations themselves. They will raise their voice and we must listen to them, but we can also cooperate with them very well. Ritva has given us a very good example. If we are in a particular situation like the corona pandemic, we need to be able to contact people who have a network in migrant communities, and this will in the concrete situation only be successful if we have a long-standing, well-developed relationship where we both trust each other. And I think that it is very important that migrants are involved also in the political processes in our cities. In Leipzig, for example, we have a very active Migrants Council, which is a sort of a working group from our city council. And the speakers of the Migrant Council, they can participate in our council meetings and they can make proposals, and then they can also comment on the decisions of our local council. I think this is a very important step that we developed here for the not only the integration, but for the participation of migrants in our city. I think for all involved stakeholders, one of the most important principles for the inclusion of migrants is to make also the existing services competent and accessible for all. Of course, there are sometimes special needs, like, for example, of refugees and other migrant groups. I agree very much with Adam that we should look at the competences of migrants. They have specific competences. Very many of them, I would say the majority of them, is well educated. But we also have different groups who need support and who need help. And we provide special services for them, but I think all areas like the health services and other counseling services need to be qualified to be accessible for all migrants. And finally, one point that I personally always like to say is that my personal belief is that we should make all efforts for integration for all migrants and refugees, no matter how long they intend to stay in our cities. I think we have to have an approach, integration from day one, and not looking at the time how long they stay. Even if it's only for a few years, they should be integrated in our cities, in our civil societies. So finally, I think cities are the sort of laboratories, the machine rooms of integration. Local authorities play a very important role, but they cannot do it by themselves. They need the cooperation with local business, local organizations, and especially also the migrants themselves. And if we are able to communicate with each other on the same level, to develop a mutual understanding for different experiences, different cultures, then we will be able to succeed. Jean-Paul, these would be my concluding remarks, and I would like to thank you all. It has been a very good learning experience for me again. We keep on learning all the time, and I wish you a good Christmas time, and let's hope for a better year next year regarding the health situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you for having been with us. I think you did an excellent wrap-up. I must admit, it shows that you know well this topic, but you're not also shying away from the challenges. And I have certainly learned that cities are really making huge efforts in this field to favour integration. And it's been a real pleasure to be part of these 2 days, to have also been part of the workshops prior to the conference. I think it's always going to be a learning curve, because people, communities, societies are constantly evolving. So we will never have the final word on this issue. Nevertheless, I will like to try and hand over to Silvia Ganzerla, who is Policy Director at Eurocities. She will have the final word, at least of this 9th Integrating Cities conference. On my side, it's been a real pleasure to have been with you, to have heard such excellent speakers over the last 2 days. And following Silvia's conclusions, we will leave you with Sophie Lang's beautiful canvas drawing of today's meeting. So once again, on my side, thank you very much for having been part of this debate. And Silvia, over to you then for the conclusions of the conference.
Yes, thank you very much, Jean-Paul. Mine are the real final remarks. I would like to just draw your attention to the fact that we in Eurocities started this integrating city process already in 2010. These have been 10 years of remarkable work to enable cities to share their knowledge, expertise, good practices for the integration of migrants, as well as having and keeping an open and constructive dialogue with European institutions, member states, NGOs, civil society, and migrants community themselves, which are very important. When we started this 10 years ago, I was in Eurocities, cities were not yet fully recognized in their central role for the integration of migrants, and migration was seen pretty much as a national policy. But we, cities, we were fully aware of the huge responsibilities as well as positive impacts that cities can have on the integration path of migrant people. Thanks to this Eurocity integrating process, we've been able to leverage on the city potential to be key drivers of policy change. This is why the integrating city process has a strong mutual learning and capacity building dimension, where cities can learn from each other in this dialogue with all the stakeholders. But this is not all. We have the ambition to engage in the EU policy making for improving integration policy at European, national, and local level. To this end, we are delighted that yesterday Commissioner Johansson said she's ready to work with cities. We are also ready, and we have a lot to contribute to. We are ready to support the EU Action Plan on Integration and Inclusion. We are ready to mitigate the negative impact of COVID-19 on migrants' communities and to avoid and prevent rising inequalities. We are ready to build strong, resilient, and inclusive communities. To this end, we clearly ask the European Commission to ensure cities receive sufficient EU funds for the integration of migrants, for the socio-economic recovery from COVID crisis, for investing in social infrastructure, for mutual learning and capacity building among cities. Before I conclude, I would like to make a final remark that I think is very crucial. It is at city level that policy meets people. It is at city level that migration stops being an abstract concept to become a policy for human beings with a face, personal history, a heart, a smile, and tears. In cities, people from different backgrounds meet, interact, exchange, learn from each other, and change. Because we should not forget, integration is a two-way process where the whole society and the newcomer mix to create a diverse and enriching community. The debate about migration is not over. We are still learning, and there are challenges. We should not shy away from dealing with these challenges. On the contrary, we need to understand them and find solutions because, as we have seen in these days, with many examples from cities, solutions exist and solutions are possible. And yes, I believe that this integration process will help us to see the beauty of diversity, the beauty that exists in each single person, regardless of where they come from. The Integrating City Conference is now coming to an end, but before I wish you a good lunch, let me thank all those people that made this conference such a great event. From Eurocities, we would like to warmly thank the city of Nuremberg and Mayor Markus Koning for co-hosting the event and to work with us at turning what it was meant to be physical meeting into an online event. We would like to thank Thomas Müller and his whole team for their work.
And a big thanks to all of you that have been listening to us and to all the speakers for their excellent contributions. I also would like to thank Jean-Paul for brilliantly moderating our debates. And also, I would like to thank the Eurocity migration team, Ferouche, Rossella, Katerina, for their amazing work. If we were in a real meeting, they would come on stage. But now you know that they are there working behind the curtains, but have been crucial. I would like to remind you that this event has been recorded. It will be uploaded on the Integrating City website, where you can also find the Integrating City report that was presented by the City of Milan early this morning. And now I leave you with Sophie drawing, which will summarize today's discussion. I thank you again, and I wish you a very good lunch and rest of the day. Bye-bye.